The Los Angeles Rams are Super Bowl champions, and all the credit in the world goes to them. From Sean McVay to Les Snead to Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald, and everyone in between, including now two-time Super Bowl champion Von Miller. Congratulations to everyone in the Rams organization, as this was a long time coming, and we saw all the moves they made over the past few years, time and time again, to try and win a championship. This true championship or bust mentality really started all the way back in 2016 to get their franchise quarterback in Jared Goff, then the 2018 first-round pick to get Brandon Cooks, then the 2020 and 2021 first-round pick to get Jalen Ramsey, and of course this year's and next year's to get quarterback Matt Stafford. It has been a very long time coming, and we are going to discuss everything in today's video over the past couple of years, what's next for them, and if any team can truly remodel this plan. So without further ado, let's begin. When discussing the Rams' future and what their plans are moving forward, it starts by saying this is what they strived for. This, or last night if you will, as I record this. Not 5 Super Bowls in 8 years, although they wouldn't deny that and say, nah, we're good, we'll just keep the one, and deny more titles, but the Super Bowl title was what all of the madness of trading all of the picks was for, and credit to them, because it's not easy to win one. And the New England Patriots from 2000 to now are continuously going to be brought up, and I knew I'd mention them at some point in the video, so I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes over the next decade, or Josh Allen, or even Joe Burrow, these guys will continuously be compared to the Patriots dynasty, and even if one of these said quarterbacks, or hell, even Matt Stafford with the Rams, wins 2 or 3 Super Bowls, it'll be kind of viewed as, well, that's nice, but it's not the Patriots nice, and that's going to be annoying over the course of time, but 2 Super Bowls, let alone 6, is extremely impressive. Hell, even 1 is, as there are a handful of teams that have only won multiple Super Bowls. The great Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees haven't even won multiple titles, to give you an idea of how truly difficult that is. But for the Rams, a team with no first-round pick until 2024, and the team with serious questions now surrounding a lot of positions, I don't want to say they're in serious trouble, because I don't believe they are, but I am glad for them that they got the Super Bowl title when they did, because while thinking they're not in trouble, I do think it could be a little while before they're back, as I would be very surprised if they go back-to-back titles. And although no decision has been made at this point, you'd have to think left tackle Andrew Whitworth, who is 40 years old and just won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, congratulations to Big Whit by the way, and a Super Bowl title within the past week, you'd have to think he hangs his cleats up and goes out on top, which inevitably marks a hole the Rams will need to fill in 2022. Oh, and by the way, there were serious talks of Aaron Donald potentially retiring if they won a Super Bowl, because he wants to spend more time with his family, and he has accomplished quite literally everything he possibly can as an NFL player. So needless to say, with Whitworth at minimum, there's a hole, and then you'd have to think Odell Beckham walks this offseason as he proved he was not the problem in LA that people thought he was in Cleveland, and if there's, a quarterback that's not missing throws consistently, Odell is still a viable weapon. And viable weapon and the player he was in the early years of his career are much, much different. But Odell is not a huge distraction, or at least the dividing player in the locker room and the on the field the media portrayed him to be over the past few years. Now, naturally, he will get more attention because of who he is, but that should be expected. And of course, the knee injury will now be a point of discussion this offseason, because if Odell indeed tore his ACL, then he would be out for a good portion of the 2022 season, and with that, unfortunately for Odell, would come less money during contract negotiation time. And with Beckham, I'm sure the Rams would want him back after how he stepped into the wide receiver 2 role down the stretch, but they will also have Robert Woods coming back, which will be something to think about when discussing Beckham's contract. How much could the Rams really shell out to Odell, who could possibly be missing a good chunk of the season, to be the 3rd receiver, or at best, the 2nd receiver on the Rams offense, while still having to address the left tackle position when they do not pick until late in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft? And then there's of course a player who made a very large impact on the Super Bowl in Von Miller. And Von, look, whether you thought it was smart or not for the Rams to give up 2 picks for a rental of a player, they won the Super Bowl, and Von played a hell of a part within that. it was worth it. The Bengals did everything they could to stop the best defensive player of the past decade, and possibly even further back in Aaron Donald, but all that did was open up the chance for Von Miller to feast on the other side, and feast he did, as he now has tied Charles Haley for the most Super Bowl sacks ever in just 2 games. Charles Haley won 5 Super Bowls for reference. The Rams, with or without Aaron Donald in 2022, would want Von back, especially after the Super Bowl performance, and to be fair, who wouldn't? But with pass rush being as big of a need as it is for a lot of teams, there will be a lot of suitors for Von in free agency at 33 years old, because if I had to guess, and I didn't reach out to Von for this information, because I don't have the type of contacts, just being honest, but if I had to guess here, I would say I don't think he's content with 2 rings, and he would do absolutely anything to get a 3rd ring. And Broncos fans are certainly involved in this, as it's reasonable to think Von could go right back to Denver and make a push there, assuming they'd go after a quarterback in their own rights the same way LA did last offseason, and in this scenario, Von would have an even better chance at that ever-elusive 3rd ring. So while the LA Rams won a title, again, congratulations to them. It takes an insane amount of hard work, dedication, and results. I'm not trying to downplay that, because there are several NFL teams that don't have a title, including my own Vikings, who are a whopping 0-4 in Super Bowls and haven't been since the 70s. Their future right now, you'd have to think at minimum, is a little shaky or at worst uncertain. I was genuinely surprised and shocked that Sean McVay in the second half kept running the ball, and I didn't understand why when they averaged just 1.9 yards per carry, but at the end of the day, he is a champion. And if there is anything last night proved, I do think a good defense, or maybe a poor offensive line, depending on how you look at it, will win or lose championships. Whether you'd like to say Aaron and Von dominated the Super Bowl, or the Bengals' offensive line was horrible, which both can be true at the same time, when a good pass rush can routinely get home, 9 out of 10 times the team with the pass rush will win, and last night showed. 7 sacks for the Rams in the Super Bowl is downright dominance. But now we get to the point in today's video of, will teams try and emulate this? And there's a few teams I look at and think if there ever is going to be a team that does it, here's who it would be, and the first one is pretty obvious, and you hear it a lot, but the Denver Broncos. They have every offensive weapon imaginable and are most certainly a quarterback away. The links to Aaron Rodgers going there makes a ton of sense. Javonte, Judy, Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton, and Noah Fant would all be ecstatic if they had Rodgers come to Denver, and the difference between Denver doing this versus what the Rams have done over the past half-decade is the Rams acquired several players over several years, where Denver would more so be trading 2 or at least first-round picks for one player, and they would be done, rebuild or re-get a quarterback for the first time since Peyton Manning, whichever term you'd prefer, would be done. And within that, they could also try and bring back Von Miller as well. The only problem or red flag I'd have with the Broncos doing this would be the competition they have in the AFC. We all know how tough it will be to get out of the AFC for the next 5 to 10 years for anybody. And by the way, that's not to say for Denver or for anyone, oh shucks, let's just throw the towel in because of the big bad teams in the AFC. It's more of a general comment. The other team, though, that wouldn't surprise me, and unintentionally I did one from the AFC and one from the NFC, but it would be the Washington Commanders, and admittedly that will take a little while to get used to saying that, because I did like the football team and it had grown on me over the past few years. But this is a team similar to Denver with the QB now win mode, though not exactly the same to be clear. You would like to think Chase Young and the defense will bounce back next year, as Chase specifically and running back Antonio Gibson for that matter didn't have the year they individually expected to heading into 2021. Gibson rushed for over 1,000 yards, yes, but averaged nearly a full yard less per carry than he did in 2020, and Chase had 1.5 sacks in 9 games and tore his ACL and was not the same player he was in his rookie season. And I don't think Rodgers would want to go to Washington as much as a place like Denver, but the Commanders' situation is certainly worth monitoring over the next really 6 to 8 weeks or so. Could the Commanders potentially trade for another veteran like Kirk Cousins? I'm completely kidding on the Cousins part, but if there are 2 teams to follow the Rams' approach this offseason with the trading the big picks for a quarterback to win this year, it is Denver and Washington. and time will tell how the results play out for each franchise, but this will be a very fun and exciting offseason. And by the way, the trade talks do not stop and start with Aaron Rodgers. There are plenty of other players and big name players that could get traded this offseason. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Now is the time I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would truly mean the world. And until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.